There is a certain kind of person who has been on their own for so long that peace begins to feel safer than closeness. They do not hate love, they may still want it, but when life becomes quiet enough, predictable enough, and fully under their control, the idea of letting someone in can feel less like romance and more like risk. Maybe this is you. You know how to spend a whole evening inside your own mind without feeling bored. You notice tone, timing, distance, hesitation. You can enjoy people, yet still feel relieved when you return to your own space. You may function well on the outside, work, answer messages, show up, smile. But inside, there is a private tiredness that comes from explaining yourself too many times to people who only heard the simplest version. From the outside, this can look like being cold, picky, unavailable, or too independent. Someone might say you are afraid of commitment, too hard to please, or secretly bitter. But underneath, something quieter is happening. Silence is not always rejection. Solitude is not always loneliness. Being careful is not the same as being closed. Sometimes a person stops chasing connection because too many bonds have asked them to become smaller just to be accepted. Psychology does not always see this as simply being single too long. In many cases, it may involve pattern recognition, emotional regulation, and learned self-protection. Your mind remembers what cost you peace. The prefrontal cortex helps you analyze, compare, predict, and plan. The amygdala watches for emotional danger, especially if past closeness brought instability. The default mode network can keep replaying old situations when the room is quiet. So what looks like overthinking may be a mind trying to prevent a familiar hurt from happening again. You think 3 steps ahead. Before a relationship even begins, your mind may already be reading the future. You notice how someone handles inconvenience, how they speak about past partners, how they respond when plans change. A simple message is not just a message, it becomes data. A delayed reply, a strange tone, a small inconsistency, all of it enters the system. To others, this may seem suspicious or intense, but for you, it may be caution built from experience. You are not trying to ruin the feeling, you are trying to know whether the feeling is safe. You also find shallow connection draining. Small talk can be pleasant for a short time, but it rarely feeds the deeper part of you. You may sit across from someone who is perfectly nice and still feel a strange emptiness because the conversation never reaches the place where you actually live. They talk about schedules, gossip, appearances, plans. Meanwhile, your mind is asking why people choose what they choose, what fear hides behind their humor, what loneliness looks like when it wears confidence. This does not make you superior. It means surface-level chemistry is not enough when your inner world has spent years looking for depth. Your mind does not easily switch off after emotional contact. Long after a date, a call, or a short exchange, something inside keeps reviewing what happened. You remember a pause before an answer. You replay a look that lasted half a second too long. You wonder whether you were too much, too quiet, too honest, too guarded. Other people may move on quickly. You may need hours to process what the moment meant. This is why closeness can feel tiring even when it goes well. Your nervous system is not only experiencing connection, it is studying it. You stay quiet because explaining feels exhausting. There are thoughts you could share, but you already know how much context they require. You have tried before. You opened one door, then had to explain the hallway, the history, the hidden wiring behind every reaction. So now you often choose less. a nod, a smile, a softer answer. Silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes it is a mind too full to translate itself. And after years of being misunderstood, not explaining can begin to feel like the only form of rest. Pause here for a moment. None of this means you are better than anyone else. It means your inner life may be more layered than the spaces around you ever knew how to hold. Being different is not proof of being broken, but it can become lonely when the world keeps asking for a simpler version of you. You may have learned to make your needs smaller. When you have spent a long time alone, you become skilled at not asking. You fix the problem, carry the bag, pay the bill, calm yourself down, make the decision, and keep moving. At first, this feels like strength. In many ways, it is. But self-reliance can become a cage when receiving care starts to feel unnatural. If someone offers help, you may feel exposed rather than comforted. Not because you do not appreciate kindness, but because depending on another person feels like handing them access to a part of you that took years to protect. You may also hide how much you notice. This is a quiet form of intellectual camouflage. You see patterns in behavior. You sense emotional shifts before anyone says a word. You may understand the ending before the other person has admitted the beginning. But saying all of that out loud can make people defensive, so you learn to appear less aware. You laugh things off. You pretend not to see the contradiction. You let the moment pass. From the outside, you may look calm. Inside, you are carrying an entire map of what nobody else has named. That kind of awareness can be useful, but it can also be painfully isolating. After a while, you may feel like you are watching life from a slight distance. People fall in love quickly, trust quickly, recover quickly, and you wonder how they do it without checking the floor beneath them first. A part of you admires that ease. Another part cannot join it. You are not necessarily unhappy. You may even be more peaceful than you have ever been, but there can still be a quiet ache beneath that peace. The sense that no one has reached the room inside you where the real conversation waits. The loneliness is not always about being alone. Sometimes it is about carrying thoughts that rarely find somewhere safe to land. You may not need many people. In truth, too many can overwhelm you. But one person who understands your silences, your caution, your depth, your slow trust, that can matter more than a crowd. What you want is not constant attention. It is accurate recognition. To be seen without being simplified. To be loved without being managed. To be close without losing the self you fought so hard to build. Here is the paradox. The same self-reliance that protected you can later make intimacy feel unsafe. The same mind that sees patterns can struggle to rest. The same sensitivity that helps you understand others can make ordinary dating feel exhausting. You are not broken for loving your peace. You are not wrong for being careful. But you may not need to become less deep. You may only need spaces where your depth does not have to apologize. Have you ever been alone for so long that peace started to feel easier than love?